Hey Pretty Girl Club, welcome back to the Beluga series. I don't know what I'm going to title this video since the YouTube algorithm wants to be a bitch and I cannot use words like skinny or fat, and apparently I can't even use the word beluga anymore. But I want to talk about the difference between looking like a snack versus eating all the snacks, because I hear a lot of women saying things like, oh, you're vain, or losing weight is not that serious. And I feel like the only girls who don't care about their weight are girls who have never been skinny. Like they've never been that model size. They've never had their dream body. So of course they feel like it's not a big deal because they've lived their entire lives struggling. They've lived their entire lives fighting for scraps of validation. They've spent their entire lives fighting for scraps of fitness. They've never had abs before. They've never had a thigh gap. They've never had like skinny arms or a skinny snatched jawline. So they don't understand what it's like once you taste that success of actually having your dream body. It's like this intoxicating feeling once you finally achieve that goal. Like when I walk into a room or when I go into a clothing store or if I'm just walking around in the city and I see other women staring at me or I see people telling me that my body is their goals, that gives me like this rush of dopamine. It's almost like this high feeling, and same thing goes for if I go to the gym or if I hike a super long distance or if I walk 20K steps and I'm not tired. That gives me this feeling of being high more so than just eating a whole bunch of snacks. And I think that a lot of women who struggle with their weight, they're not thinking things through because yeah, it's all fine and good when you're eating the ice cream. Of course, you enjoy that. But what you don't enjoy is going into a social setting and then feeling jealous of other women. Like in my case, if I'm not leveling up, that's when I'm going to start feeling triggered. That's when I'm going to start feeling insecure and jealous, is when I'm leveling down. So with every bite I take, I'm either getting closer to my dream body or I'm getting further away from it. So I think that some girls who are bigger, they feel fine when they're by themselves because it's like, yeah, you're by yourself. You're just in your bedroom. Nobody's watching you eat 3 buckets of ice cream. Nobody's holding you accountable. So of course it feels fine, but as soon as you step out into the public and you start feeling overlooked, that's when the trigger begins. And there's nothing worse than having that feeling of being overlooked. Look at the women on YouTube. Look at how they speak. Look at how angry a lot of women are because they spent their lives feeling invisible. Being in shape, it gives you this automatic sense of visibility. So it's like it is a privilege. It's a privilege because you have visibility in the fashion industry. You have visibility at the gym or anytime you're in some sort of fitness environment. So women who have their dream bodies, we don't have an inferiority complex about our bodies. You can't tell me that there's no inferiority complex creeping in if you're over here struggling with your weight. And that's okay. Everybody struggles with like insecurities. Everybody has things they're working on, but I want to tell this story time about my friend. So me and my friend recently, we went to this professional, it was like a networking event. It was like an African American networking event. So there were lots of like lawyers and like entrepreneurs. Think of like very high status professional people. We went to kind of like this bar setting. So I ended up inviting my friend, who is a fellow exotical. So I'm going to describe my friend just like for context. So my friend, she's a fellow exotical. She's working on her weight. She's not big, honestly. I would say she's more like average weight. She has a couple areas that she wants to work on, but generally speaking, she's pretty slim. She might be like a size 8 or maybe like a 10 or something like that. So I wouldn't call her skinny, but she is not big to the point where you are experiencing fat phobia. She's not that size. She is not obese. Like she's nowhere near being obese. She just feels like she has a couple of areas that she needs to work on. So that's fine. And she looked really good. And I went to this mixer with her and I was planning on introducing her to this other girl that I knew who is another fellow exotical. So this exotical, she happens to be obese, and I'm not saying that to be mean. Like she's very pretty still. She actually looks. Both of my friends, both of them look like Stella, the fashion YouTuber. She's like a plus size fashion YouTuber. I love her channel. So both of them have a similar look to that. So I went to this mixer with my friend, and I was going to introduce her to this other girl that I know who happens to be the obese one. But the one who was obese, she actually was rude to my friend because my friend was kind of like the skinnier version of her. Both of them had the same exact phenotype, lighter skin, light eye color, pretty, pretty smiles or whatever, similar body shapes. But because my friend was a little bit less big, like because she was a little bit skinnier, this other girl, she literally was being mean to her the entire time. She literally did not want my friend who was slightly skinnier. She didn't want her to sit next to her boyfriend who was like this bigger guy. He was like kind of a bigger black guy. So it's like, okay, that's the consequence of not thinking things through when it comes to your body. If you're insecure about something like your body shape or your weight, it's going to be triggering when you see the skinnier version of yourself walking around in public, especially in a co-ed setting. Have you ever noticed that some of the women who are the biggest pick-me's, usually these are women who are deeply struggling with their weight? A lot of these women struggle with feeling beautiful. Go to those red pill channels and look at the pick-me's commenting. You will see those women saying, oh yeah, I rate myself a 3 out of 10. I'm a 4 out of 10. I'm a 2 out of 10. Okay, so women with this pick-me mindset, they have very low self-esteem. A lot of them are in competition with women who are slightly skinnier, or, they have this mindset where it's like, okay, she is slightly higher than me on this hierarchy. She is a little bit closer to her body goals, and so now I'm threatened. Now I don't even want to be friends with her because she's kind of like the hotter version of me. That's an example of the types of insecurities you're going to be facing if you choose to remain a beluga. So it's like, that's exactly why when I'm at home, that's why I don't binge on snacks. That's why I don't eat a whole bunch of fattening foods, because I don't want to go into an important setting. Or like in this girl's case, she was going out with her boyfriend expecting to have a classy night at dinner. And then lo and behold, this other pretty girl walks in who's slightly skinnier. Her stomach is a little bit smaller. Her skin is a little bit clearer. Her hair is a little bit healthier. So it's like this sense of rivalry that a lot of women can feel when they are bigger and they see women who look better, especially in the case of being at a swanky establishment. When you are thinner, you definitely feel like you fit in more when you go to these classy environments. Go to the richest zip code in your city. Go to the richest neighborhood. Go to the nicest mall in your city. What body type do you see? You're more likely to see women who are at a healthy weight in an upscale area. And then if you go to the poorest area in your city, you're more likely to see obesity. So in the case of the girl that was mean to my friend because my friend was slightly skinnier than her, I never viewed her as insecure. I thought that she was confident in her body and everything. But no, she instantly became like this different person because she was threatened by my friend being a smaller version of her. And a part of the reason why people get so triggered by your weight loss is because you're doing something that they can't do. You're doing something that they didn't have the discipline to stick with. You were able to meet your body goals. You were able to have kids and lose the weight. You were able to drop 20 pounds. She was only able to drop 10 pounds, and she still goes home and she eats a whole bunch of popcorn. By the way, popcorn is very high calorie. Popcorn is a good 500 calories. A bucket of popcorn, Pop Secret, that's a good 500 calories. And I'm saying that because I love popcorn. That's one of my favorite snacks. So a lot of these girls who try to pretend like they're so confident, like, oh, I'm still being loved. I still have a man. I'm still going to these upscale bars and restaurants. Okay, they're going to those places, but they feel very insecure when they're in those places. So part of what keeps me thin is I don't want to deal with the regret of going to a new setting and then I look at some other girl across the room and then, she represents everything I wish I was. She meets my body goals and I couldn't even meet my body goals. No, I don't want other people to be living my dreams. That makes me feel ripped off. That makes me feel like a failure because it's like, wow, I didn't want to have the discipline when I was by myself. And now here I am in this social setting feeling all this pressure and feeling all these random insecurities. I can't even be who I naturally am. I can't show my personality because I'm so worried about, oh my God, How do I look sitting next to this girl? Oh, this girl is skinnier than me. Oh my gosh, I wish I wouldn't have had so many cupcakes last night. Then I wouldn't be so bloated today. I don't want to walk around with all those insecurities. And I'm not saying that bigger women are insecure all the time, because they're not. I just feel like the insecurities come out in the most random places. Usually the insecurities about your body, it comes out not just on the beach, but it comes out in dating scenarios. It comes out when you go to a high class restaurant or bar. It comes out when you go to the gym. And I'm speaking from experience. When I was chunky, that's when my insecurities would come out. Everything was fine until some more fit people walked into the room. Everything was fine until I decided to go on a hike, and then I see that everybody else is passing me and they're walking up the hill with no problem. Everything was fine until it was a hot summer day and everybody else is wearing their beautiful sundresses and I'm over here in some leggings and a baggy t-shirt, sweating everywhere because I couldn't show off my body because I was too ashamed. So that's when the insecurities start to come out. So I'm not willing to do that. And it's so simple to maintain your weight. All you have to do is eat less. Stop eating late at night. Stop eating hella sodium. If you're eating hella high sodium, processed foods, popcorns, Pop-Tarts, potato chips, all this high sodium, that's causing bloating. So no, I don't want to wake up the next morning and I have a puffy ass face and then I try to do my makeup and my makeup doesn't hit the same. My jawline is not snatched like it normally is. I got a whole double chin coming in. My chin's looking round as fuck. I have a face that's shaped like a bowling ball. No, I don't want to have those problems. I don't want those micro insecurities. And I feel like whenever I am at a healthy size, that is when I receive the most micro validation. So some people are going to be like, oh, well, you shouldn't worry about needing validation from others. Your self-esteem is not built in a vacuum. So I understand that you should have an internal locus of control, but at the end of the day, every human being wants to feel appreciated. So yes, that includes my body. I don't want to be appreciated just for having a pretty face or pretty hair or pretty clothes. No, I want my actual body to be appreciated as well. And don't even get me started on things like sexual confidence. That's a whole other insecurity that also comes along if you're struggling with your weight. And a lot of bigger women, they never talk about this online. They don't talk about how when it comes time to sleep with their boyfriend or whatever, they don't feel as confident. Maybe they have to wear a large t-shirt or something, or they have to keep the lights off and stay under the covers, or they just feel super insecure about their sweat, kind of like body odor. I noticed that is something that I've noticed about some people who are bigger. Sometimes they can't wash between all their rolls, and so they have a body odor. So yes, if they're trying to sleep with someone or if they're trying to be sexy or whatever, that's a whole other insecurity right there. Feeling like you're already being stereotyped and then you can't really enjoy yourself. I feel like you're missing out on a lot of small moments of happiness in life. That's how I feel. So it's I don't want to sacrifice all of this happiness just so I could have one bite of a cupcake. Is it really that serious just to have some cupcakes? Just so I can have some sugar, which also depletes my collagen and makes me age faster? Just so I can have a little bit of dairy, which clogs my pores and causes bloating and mucus and makes allergy symptoms worse? So it's worth all of those problems just so I can have a piece of cheese? No, it's never that serious. So that's why I stay ready so I don't have to get ready. Women who are thin, we stay ready so we don't have to get ready. So our body is already on point. So when it comes time to go to this swanky event and be around all these six-figure people, all these people that a lot of people try to impress, when it comes time to be in these exclusive spaces, we're ready. We can just throw on a cute shirt and some jeans and some high heels and still look like a model because our body is the outfit. So a part of why I don't take bigger women seriously when they try to talk about self-esteem and body image, it's what do you mean body image? Your body image is not good. You have to try to convince society to accept your body because your body has historically been marginalized and had negative stereotypes associated with it. So why would I take your advice? Why would I try to be like you? I don't want to be like you, respectfully. I want to have privilege in as many areas as possible, so that includes my body. And you'd be surprised at how jealous other women can get. Like I said, with my friend, with my exotical friend, she doesn't identify as skinny. But the other girl who was obese was still jealous of this girl for not being as big as her. Oh, and another side note, whenever I go to social settings, if I'm going somewhere where there are going to be drinks, I do not drink my calories. So I don't care if everybody else is getting these fancy martinis or these fancy little mocktails, even when it comes to mocktails. Because I don't drink, a lot of people are like, oh, you can just drink a mocktail. No, I'm not drinking a 500-calorie mocktail with cherry syrup and red dye number 5 and it's filled with sugar and, it's carbonated. No, I'm not drinking that because I don't need to drink my calories. Also, I don't want to walk out of this party with a sugar headache. I don't want to walk out of here dehydrated because sugar contributes to dehydration. Having syrups, that's not good for my body. Why would I want some sort of substance in my body that literally has a similar texture to mucus? Why would I want that in my body? Why do I want corn syrup randomly in my body? I don't need that. So no, I know how to have fun without relying on food. And that's another thing too. A lot of women who struggle with their weight, part of why they're eating is because of anxiety. So maybe they're anxious about how their body looks, and so as a way to comfort themselves, they're hovering over the section where they have all the hors d'oeuvres. They're hovering over the section where they have the extra drinks. All the free food that they give out at all these swanky events, they're hovering over that section. And it's like, no, I would rather be actually talking to people. First of all, that's rude to be talking with my mouth full. So it's like I'm over here eating all of these little sandwiches and shit, and then I'm over here trying to talk to people and network with them, and then my breath smells like garlic and there's food just like sloshing around in my mouth while I'm talking. That is not cute. That's not classy. I don't think that's going to help me gain any more opportunities. So being thin is a part of my social climbing strategy. And another thing that I'll do too, if I'm at a social event and I want to like stay slim, I will take a lot of steps. If I'm at a big building, let's say it has like 2 or 3 stories, or I don't know, it's just like a really big like vineyard or something like that, I will walk around and kind of explore because then I'm getting some steps in. I'm not thinking about food. And if I want to have a drink in my hand that bad, I will get water with lemon or I'll get water with lime. You can get that at the bar. You don't have to get an alcoholic drink just because you're at the bar. You don't have to get sodas and all of these syrupy drinks just because it's there. And that's a part of the difference between a thin woman and a woman who struggles with her weight. For us women who are thin, we don't have this mindset of eating stuff just because it's there. Like just because something is available to me, that doesn't mean that I have to have it. I don't have to have it right now. And another thing too, it's like you were not even thinking about food. You weren't thinking about chocolate covered strawberries until you walked into the event and you saw that they had a table full of them. So that's not real hunger. So women who are bigger, a lot of times they're triggered by fake hunger. I know the difference between fake hunger and real hunger. If I do not have the symptoms of hunger, I am not hungry. That's one of the top things that helped me to stay thin. Also, once I realized that my stomach is the size of my fist, my stomach is actually very small. Like when you think of how your organs in your body work, your stomach is actually very small. It's not the size of a plate. And in American culture, they socialize us to overeat. They socialize us to consume. That's really what it is. They want us to buy more food. They want us to spend more money on food. So that's why they're trying to convince us that having this plate with a whole bunch of mountains of food on it, that's normal. That's not normal. That's actually called binging. So on Thanksgiving, binge culture is actually very common around Thanksgiving. Around the holidays, it's totally acceptable to binge. I've noticed that's like what the media tries to tell us. But guess what? I'm not a follower ass bitch. So just because I see movies or I see all my friends and family posting these big ass meals on Facebook, that doesn't mean that I have to follow what they're doing. And just because I go to a fancy event and they've got like chocolate fountains and all these towers filled with cupcakes and stuff, that doesn't mean that I have to eat that. And if you notice, when you go to like a bar or a happy hour, look at the women who are skinny. Look at those women. Observe them. What do they do? Like, they're probably not over there having 10 and 15 cupcakes. They're probably not eating cupcakes and then taking them home and then eating some more cupcakes tomorrow. Oh, that's another thing that I do too, by the way. If I go out to eat and I know that that food that I just ate is not a healthy choice, I'm not going to take that food home. I'm not going to pack it up in a box and then take it home so I can continue eating unhealthy tomorrow. No. As soon as I leave that restaurant, I'm done. I'm not taking it home. I don't care if I left half of my burger there. I don't care if I left half of the French fries there. Well, honestly, I do take proteins home sometimes. Like if I have some really good burgers or something, and then I'll take off the buns, and then I will use the beef. I will use that, and I'll put an egg on top of it the next day, and then that's like my protein serving. But other than that, I'm not taking home French fries, giant slices of cake, mozzarella sticks, anything that's deep fried. I'm not taking that home. I don't want that to be one of the staples in my diet. Fried foods, that's not a food group. And a lot of times when I come across women who get jealous over your body type or they get jealous over your weight loss, it's not just that they're jealous of you. They have a mindset of regret. They regret the fact that they did not eat properly over the last 30 days. They have a feeling of regret. They're mad that they didn't stick to their weight loss, or they made the mistake of trying to rely on cardio, which is not smart, especially if you're already overweight and you already struggle with food noise. When I first started losing weight, I struggled a lot with food noise. And I had to finally pinpoint the source of the food noise, which was, in my case, it was not having enough protein. That's a part of what caused my food noise. Also, it was eating too many processed foods. So if you're already the type of person where you have these obsessive thoughts over food, especially when it's processed. For me personally, if I go to the grocery store and I get a bunch of cupcakes or something and I start eating those cupcakes, it's almost like it triggers something in my brain to where I start thinking about those cupcakes later on. And part of that has to do with food engineering. So they have people in labs that try to create the most addictive foods possible so that you can keep on thinking about it. So if I already know that I have a tendency to hyperfocus and chase after dopamine, because that's really what that is. Anytime you're having sugar and stuff, that's giving you a dopamine hit. So if I already know that I'm prone to doing stuff like that, why would I sabotage myself by going and eating processed foods? For some people, they can have a slice of cake and be done. And then for other people, they don't know when to stop. So I already know what my trigger foods are. I keep track of my triggers and I make sure to not have those things in the house. So in my case, my trigger foods are pretty much anything that has this soft, fatty texture. So things like butter, peanut butter, even guacamole, anything that has a whipped texture, kind of like whipped cream is another one, like the whipped cream on the lattes and stuff. If it has that soft, fluffy texture like frosting, I already know that I historically have had a hard time controlling myself around those things. I can't just have one little tiny tablespoon of guacamole and be done. No, I'm the type of person where I will have the entire thing. And it's like, just because it's healthy, it doesn't mean it's 0 calorie. That's number one. And also, if I know that I get triggered when it comes to fats, then I'm not going to keep that in my apartment. But I have a list on my phone of some of the ways that I keep track of my weight without having to use the scale. So I do weigh myself every day, but if for some reason I feel like I'm still gaining weight or maybe I'm bloated or something, I track myself by looking at my face. Okay, so my face is an oval shape, but when I start to gain weight or if I'm eating too much sodium and I'm bloated, my face naturally starts to look more swollen. It starts to look more round and circular. That's one of the ways I can tell, like, okay, I need to stop eating so many processed foods. Number 2 is constipation. If I have stopped going to the bathroom, that's because I ate something to where my digestive system is like, okay, bitch, what is this? What is all this shit that you just put in my stomach? I don't know what this is. So now I have to spend 7 days trying to figure out if this has any nutrients in it. So if I can't go to the bathroom, if my stomach is hurting, or if I have a food hangover, like if I'm getting an instant headache after I eat something, that's my body trying to tell me, stop doing this, stop eating this. So a part of the difference between thin women versus women with this beluga mindset, the way that I view food as a part of my social climbing journey. Food is my fuel. It's a part of my beauty. Like when I'm eating a salad, I'm eating pretty girl foods. If I'm eating a cupcake, I'm eating beluga foods. Oh, well, you shouldn't label foods good and bad. Okay, well, bitch, that's what helps me to make the right decision. There is a such thing as bad food. You can't tell me that red dye number 5 is good for you. So, no, I'm going to call it what it is. It's poison. Most processed foods are literally poison. So, no, I don't want to poison my stomach. I don't want to poison my skin. I don't want to poison my digestive system. Also, for those of you who are sexually active or if you have a boyfriend or some shit like that, you do know that the food you're eating, it affects how you smell, right? It affects your body odor. Like if you're eating all this processed food and it's got microplastic and stuff in it, that's not going to make you smell good. And that's why sometimes when you're around like homeless people or obese people, sometimes their BO is way stronger than normal. And part of that comes from what they're eating. It's because they're eating like cheese. They literally have rotting cheese inside of their digestive system right now. Red meat makes your body odor smell worse. Having dairy, that can lead to a sour. Have you ever been around someone that literally smells like cheese? Yeah, that's nasty. But having a lot of dairy, that can lead to this sour or cheesy smell depending on like your gut. Having super processed junk food with a whole bunch of like preservatives in it, that causes you to smell rancid. So it's like, no, I don't want to look bad and smell bad. That's a micro insecurity. So women who are struggling with their weight, they're also struggling with all of these micro insecurities. And I don't want to have that kind of mental load. I don't want to have all these thoughts swirling around in my head like, oh my God, I look bad. I've got a double chin. I've got cavities. Now, that's another problem that a lot of women experience if they're overeating on sugar. They've got way more cavities. Their teeth look bad because they're drinking hella soda every single day. They're drinking soda every day. They're having all these sugary drinks. So now their teeth are rotting as well. So another part of what helps me stay thin is looking at the actual symptoms I experience from the foods. So if that food is making me tired, that's a disadvantage because now I'm going to be too sleepy to go to the gym. I'm going to be too sleepy to go on my walk. I'm going to be too tired to clean up my apartment. I'm going to be too tired to go out and have fun or to grocery shop. A lot of women, they have this cycle that they're going through. They eat these bad foods and now they're too tired to go out to the grocery store and get fresh fruits and vegetables. So then they don't do it. So then they stay in their apartment and continue eating bad foods. So I don't want to have this domino effect where all of these chips are stacking against me. And now I'm leveling down because I didn't know how to properly fuel my body. So a part of why some women have no energy, it's because the food they're eating, it zaps away their energy or they're eating too much. If you're tired after eating, you ate too much. I don't care if you had a salad. Your salad was too big. Because another thing that happens too is when you have a large portion of foods, all of your blood, it starts rushing to your digestive system. Basically, your body, it starts focusing on trying to digest all that food that you just ate. And so that's why a lot of people experience that food coma. Not to mention the sugar crash. Like a lot of sugars cause you to crash, carbs cause you to crash. So the way that I balance it out is I always try to have protein and like some healthy fat if possible. That helps me to not have that sugar crash. So one of the worst lunches that I've always seen bigger women have at work is pasta. Why would you have just pasta for lunch? That's one of the dumbest meals that you could ever. Why would I want to eat? Literally, it's processed grain, and then they put it into this little swirly shape like a corkscrew. And then you want to top it with some white sauce. Generally speaking, I do not eat white foods. I try to stay away from things that are white. White flour, white sugar. So you want to create this pasta and then you top it with some white sauce, which probably has dairy in it or it's probably over processed, like the ragu pasta sauce. Anything you're getting from your work cafeteria or you're getting it from your local coffee shop, they serve pasta on the side or something. Or you can just buy a little bowl of pasta for $5. That is one of the dumbest lunches that I've ever seen in my life. White pasta is high in refined carbs. It's going to cause my blood sugar to spike and then crash, which is going to lead me to become hungry later. And then it's going to cause me to have more cravings. It's going to cause me to have fatigue. Pasta is also very calorie dense and it's not very filling compared to foods that have fiber in them. So it's very common for people to overeat pasta. Why? It's because it has no fiber in it. Not to mention the fact that it's high in starch. And so now I'm also, instead of just gaining regular fat, now I'm also going to be gaining water weight. So I'm eating more carbs than my body needs, but then I'm going to be too tired to go and use those carbs as fuel for a workout because I'm going to have the carb crash. Not to mention the fact that a lot of the pastas that they serve in cafeterias and stuff, that's going to have a lot of gluten in it because it's like refined wheat. So that's also something that contributes to inflammation, aka acne, if you got eczema, lots of skin problems. So why would I want to have that for lunch right in the middle of the day? When the sun is at its highest, when my productivity could be at the highest level. No, I choose to go and sabotage myself by eating a huge serving of white pasta at the cafeteria. There's a reason why they always have pasta in supply whenever you go to these cheap-ass cafeterias at your job. There's a reason why they always have pasta. It's because it's low quality. It's a cheap food that's low quality. It's filled with gluten. And those businesses and restaurants, they're too lazy to like actually get fresh farm produce and all that. They don't want to do that. So they're getting something cheap and easy. And it's like, no, I'm not going to eat that. I don't want to treat my body like it's cheap and easy. And have you ever noticed that a lot of women who are obese, a lot of times they actually do get treated, even by men, like they're cheap and easy? That's one of their biggest complaints, is they get treated like they're cheap and easy, or they feel like people just want to use their bodies and discard them. And it's like, well, in a lot of cases, that's what you're doing to yourself. You're literally just getting food. You're treating your body like a trash can with every bite you take. So why are you now surprised that you have now manifested that when it comes to how others treat you? And it's like, no, I want other people to treat me how I treat myself. I treat my body with reverence and respect, and I like to protect my body. I try to protect and provide for my body. So I want to protect my body from diseases. I want to protect it from all these energy crashes and stuff. I want to protect my body from being addicted to things. And I want to provide resources so my body can thrive. So that's why I drink alkaline water. That's why I have my fruit smoothies and stuff. That's why I try to have lean protein. That's my version of protecting and providing for my own body. Anyway, what do you ladies think? Let me know in the comment section and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.